ADHD is often underdiagnosed because of the generic ways people think of it. Everyone has their own take on what it's supposed to look like. But being hyperactive is not the only piece of the puzzle. There are many other factors at play, and one of those factors being it does vary per person, but also per gender. Being a male or female does change the symptoms that you exhibit, as in girls can just be more chatty and guys are more aggressive. Today I'll tell you about ADHD. In this speech, I'll tell you about different diagnoses, behavior patterns, studies, and treatments. When diagnosing ADHD, not all of it is the same between the guys and the girls. Now, first I'll tell you about the guys. According to Healthline, guys tend to be diagnosed more often. They're actually diagnosed 3 times more often. That doesn't mean girls are less susceptible, it's just that guys externalize it more, so it's caught more often. But it can also be missed as just boys being boys. Second, I'll tell you about the girls. According to Healthline, they are less diagnosed because they are less physical about it. They are more verbally aggressive and they keep everything more internalized. This makes it less noticeable, and all these subtle and overlooked things make it harder to identify. People with ADHD tend to act differently. Guys and the boys' behavior patterns are different. Now I'll tell you about the girls' behaviors. According to Understood, they adapt better in school, but are noticeably more squirmy and chatty. They are described often as overly emotional and distracted and daydreaming. All of these are just overlooked as being a spacey girl. Everyone just looks for the hyperactive part, messing around, and not anything else mentally. Next, I'll tell you about the boys' behavior. According to Understood, they are more hyperactive. They struggle a lot with their self-control, and they act out more in school. This outgoingness gets them in trouble more, and they also have a major lack of focus and are inattentive. And this aggression, because they have more of it, makes it so they are diagnosed easier because they externalize and make it shown that they have it physically. As times change, there are new studies and new treatments being developed. Now I'll tell you about some new studies. According to Attitude, there have been some new developments over this last year. Unmedicated ADHD can actually put you in the higher risk category of getting COVID. Who knew? Specifically, the stimulant medication reduces your chances. Another study is that infants who visually examine everything and explore a lot more have a higher probability of having ADHD sometime down the line. One other thing is that ADHD takes a higher toll on a girl's mental status than a guy's. Finally, I'll tell you about some treatments. According to Psychiatric, there are different treatments being made and there are different new drugs being produced. Adderall is not generally prescribed anymore, but not everyone is comfortable with medication. There are some substitutions to keep everything in check the way you want it without being medicated, such as sports and video games are used often. During this speech, I told you about how people are diagnosed, different behavior patterns, studies, and treatments. There are a few different behaviors that are not necessarily hyperactive but are still related to ADHD, being the changes between the male and the female, and that girls are chatty and guys are more aggressive. So unfocus and focus your eyes. If you can do it, you probably have ADHD or have had it.